Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Shemi Awashai, Shemi Kakwadash, of course, double honors. Once again, go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders who, through the Holy Spirit, continue to push out this truth. Salutations to the fellow Akim out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth throughout the four corners. Doing so truthfully and honestly, all right, with no guile, all right. This is Nama with the DC camp. And of course, trying to wake up the remaining hopefully elect out there uh, in the process. What you see here on the screen uh, is really weird in the sense that we know this is something else in this devil's arsenal. On the one hand, they want to say, well, we want to restrict access to certain guns, and we all know the end goal has always been to keep them out of Jake's hands, meaning our people, all right, the true Hebrew Israelites. So there's this sort of wicked balancing act, if you will. So let's just read the title. This is from the Business Insider. It says, Supreme Court may be on the verge of expanding the right to carry guns in public as the nation is terrorized by mass shootings. Okay. And this has been going on for a number of years. I can't, I want to say more frequently, and we know things are like coming to a head. You've got the last 2 years, you've had this so-called pandemic, the psychological warfare, they've perpetrated on, this is worldwide. So it's kind of like the pump being primed, and that pump being people's ability to handle the bullshit, all right, that's been shoved down their throats. It's like, what's that, Belcourt experiment or something to that effect. This is all a game of the elites playing with people, playing with people's lives, all right, pushing everybody towards this new world order that they are quickly trying to set up, because as the scriptures say in Revelation 12:12, this devil knows that he has but a short time. All right, he sees the sights in the heavens, the celestial events, the chariots of Israel, aka UFOs. All right, he sees these things and they're more frequent. All right, so it doesn't bode well for him. He knows this. Zechariah 5th chapter is going into that, about in the house of the thief. And these chariots have been to the point where they forced this man to come out recently with footage from the last 50 years prior, all right, because they tried for the longest time to say, no, that's conspiracy theory, there's no such thing, you're seeing things. But it's funny, the same thing that happened with this pandemic, where people from the onset, and we were some of those people, that let you know this is bullshit, all right. And as Hillary Clinton said a few years ago, they've lost, well, she said they're losing, but I go, they've lost the information war, all right. And this is ultimately the doing of the Most High, Yahweh, all right, because it's time to pull this devil out of power. All right, anyway, so here we go. You got these people protesting. They've lost their loved ones. They got their pictures there. Boo-hoo-hoo, whatever. Anyway, let's look at the points here. It says the Supreme Court is soon expected to release a decision on a major gun rights case. Okay? The court's conservative majority appears open to expanding the Second Amendment. The decision will come by late June or early July. Now that's important because we have often said since, sometime last year, that it would seem that something is probably going to kick off during the summer of this year. All right, now you're coming out with another planned pandemic with this monkeypox BS. All right, again, continuing to prime that pump. All right, people's emotions, the people are on edge. All right, this is all done on purpose. The economy is going to crash, people, and it's going to be all out chaos, anarchy. You know, it's oftentimes you bring out, again, this is prophecy. Second Ezra 15 and 16 chapters, Matthew 24th chapter, Luke 21st chapter. All right, these things we keep telling you people, but you listen to these politicians telling you, nah, everything's going to be all right. You know, it's First Thessalonians 5th chapter there. You know, when they say peace and safety, what? You know, here it comes again with another scripture talking about that breach wall. You know, Isaiah 30. All right. So everything is going to, like I said, you know, it's going to be unexpected. But we're continuing to watch. There are certain signs, and no one at this point can say it's been like this before. Bullshit. All right? Because people that have been around a lot longer than me are saying they've never seen like this. This is something new. This is something else. All right? But you're going to have the people that are going, you know, hey, you know, that's just the way it is. That's what they were put here for. All right? Anyway, it says, while Americans are reeling from horrific mass shootings at a supermarket in Buffalo, you know, it's old news. It says, in an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, this past Tuesday, the Supreme Court is deciding on a major case that may strike down, Salaki, a slew of gun safety laws in the country and expand Americans' rights to carry a gun in public. Why? You also have to consider the fear factor here of our enemy, the so-called white man who is of the nation of Edom in the Bible. All right, that's just the way they are. All right, we're afraid, and they use that excuse. Even the police. All right, which is kind of funny. If you're going to take a job like that, wouldn't that be something that, you know, like, you know, Psalms 23rd chapter. You know, this, hey, and that's part of the curses as far as, you know, our people. You know. This is the valley of the shadow of death, you know. He says the nation's highest court, made up of a 6-3 conservative majority, is expected to hand down a ruling in late June or July, or early July. July the 4th. Wouldn't that be appropriate? On the most significant gun rights case the court has considered in 14 years. At the center of the case is a New York gun permit law that was enacted over a century ago. I think they're talking about Sullivan Act. It requires people who want a license to carry a gun in public to demonstrate a proper cause or a special reason for doing so. The challengers, backed by the National Rifle Association, are two New York men who applied for state permits to carry a concealed gun in public for self-defense purposes and were denied because they did not meet the proper cause standard. They claim that the New York law, which has been upheld by the lower courts, violates the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. But there's something in there about a militia. I think I remember reading that. Anyway, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments for the case on November 3rd. During the arguments, the conservative justices appeared open to the idea that the New York rule was unconstitutional. Why isn't it good enough to say I live in a violent area and I want to be able to defend myself? Justice Brett Kavanaugh, appointed by former President Donald Trump, asked during oral arguments. According to Justice Samuel Alito, a George W. Bush appointee, criminals can walk around New York City with their illegal guns, but the ordinary, hard-working, law-abiding people, that's code for who? Can't be armed, he said during oral arguments. So what it appears is all the shit that was aimed toward us has backfired. That's what I'm reading between the lines. Has backfired on good old hard-working white folk. So how do we remedy this? All right, well, if I can find it, there's an old Archie Bunker episode. I had it on my phone. I didn't. Let's see if I can find it. Pull it up on here. Hold on. Let's see. Uh, Here it is.
My name
Salakia.
is Zachary Parker. My parents raised
You can't
my
even
family
silence it. I mean, so I'm going to what they're getting into. They're talking about. I hope they don't scrub the whole video because of this, but this is it. Archie Bunker gun control. I might not even play it. I'll just let you do it yourself. But towards the end here is when it really gets good. They talk about George Wallace. He was shot. In fact, it was just up the road here in Maryland from me. MLK, Kennedy's, et cetera, and he just more or less just tells him, he said, the reason, he doesn't say it outright, but the impetus being, give everybody a gun, and while it sounds backwards, but again, who's been the object of these fucked up ass laws? You're gonna understand since the wicked origins of America, who's the focus been on? All right, Jake, the people that were brought over here, the real Israelites, and of course, tribes of Gad, their brothers that were already over here, so-called North American Indians. All right, Gad and Reuben. All right, and then this whole hemisphere going down all the way to Argentina. All right, up north there. Those are Jake's too, Canada and above. All right, it says anyway. It says if the court decides to wipe out the New York rule, the outcome could have sweeping consequences. In addition to New York, at least 7 other states, including California, Massachusetts, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Hawaii, representing a total of 73 million people in the country, have similar concealed carry licensing rules that would be expected to fall. Because in case you don't know it, in reality, you're not who the police that you think when they say protect and to serve. You're not supposed to be the benefactor of that. This whole thing is set up for business. All right. Yeah, you might want to check on that in case you doubt what I'm saying. All right. What this is also saying, since I brought it up, is these people have exposed something that a lot of people did not know. These people that challenged the law in New York, these 2 guys. All right. They tell you, well, before you do anything, call us, but at the same time, you got to be aware of the laws where you live. It's all fucked up. It's just fucked up, and you could end up getting yourself in a jam because where I am in D.C. back in the 70s, there was a case. I forget the name of it now, but 3 women, I think it was 3, were raped and beaten over a span of hours, and they had called the police. And police came initially, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, checked the doors and left. And 2 of the occupants of the building that were, I guess trying to hide and hoping the police would do something, they called again, and of course the criminals heard them, and well, they got to join the party. So there was a lawsuit after that, and lo and behold, it came out that the police said that, hey, you're not our responsibility. Again, going toward what? This is about the money, all right, ultimately. All right, it says the court could narrow The court could issue a narrow ruling on a case that argues some exceptions during oral arguments. For example, the justices expressed concern about people carrying concealed guns in crowded public areas, including sports stadiums, university campuses, and Times Square in Manhattan. This is the first major case in which the Supreme Court is considering whether the Constitution protects an individual's right to carry a gun outside the home. The last time the court decided a landmark gun rights case was in 2008, when the majority of justices declared that the Constitution protects the right to keep a gun inside the home for self-defense. In Texas, where an 18-year-old gunman opened fire in elementary school, leaving at least 19 children and 2 adults dead on Tuesday, the law allows people aged 21 or older to carry a gun in public without a permit. So it sounds like also that these laws, especially this one like here in Texas, these laws are being, it's like when you send out a probe, something where you test the weakness of something or scout, whatever. All right, and that's what they're doing because they want to get rid of these motherfuckers altogether. Now that I said that, listen to this. Because on the one hand, they said that what? Well, we want to let everybody have guns, but look at this. They have something called a red flag law. And this is, how they pass legislation and shit, and they have these little things in there that nobody really pays attention to until, well, like now. It says, like I said, red flag laws. Senators talk expanded gun background. Well, hold on. Damn. All right. Gun background checks. Talking about red flag laws. Now, what is a red flag law? Let's get this. All right. Let's see. Let's go to another one. I didn't want to use that because that's so short. Hold on. What is this? There we go. Oh, son of a. All right. Salaki. App isn't available. Son of a. Salaki. All right. Let me see if I can find it again. Here it is. What is a red flag law? All right. This is what they're considering. This is what was in something that I think was last September. It says, senators, this is the second paragraph, it says, senators have said they are exploring the possibility of introducing a national red flag law, which would allow law enforcement officers, you heard some form of this somewhere, he said would allow law enforcement officials to confiscate firearms from individuals a court deems to be dangerous. But see, there's, it's not as, it's a lot to that, all right? Let's scroll on down because this other stuff right here is talking about these asshole politicians. Here we go. It says a red flag law is shorthand for a type of gun legislation that grants law enforcement the authority to temporarily take guns away from someone who exhibits concerning behavior. That red flag behavior could include a known gun owner issuing specific threats to do harm or demonstrating signs of suffering serious mental harm. Now, what the fuck could go wrong here? Think about this. Let's continue. Under a red flag law, law enforcement officers and, in some states, family members can petition a state court to pass an order to remove firearms from an individual who exhibits red flag behavior and bar them from purchasing new ones. Which begs the question, what the fuck is red flag behavior? That's subjective as hell. And that's the issue I have with this. Because they're talking about anybody, including family members. What if a motherfucker don't like you? It could be something that simple. All right. It says removal orders are not permanent, usually expiring after a year. Though officials can petition to have them extended. As of now, the District of Columbia, where I'm at, and 19 states, both Democratic and Republican, including Oregon, California, some of those that I read from the last article, Indiana, and Massachusetts have passed some form of a red flag law. All right, because Indiana and Georgia, I know for a fact, are considering doing away with getting permits to carry guns, like the other article uh, spoke about. That's on the books now. It's trying to pass that now as I speak. All right, it says Connecticut was the first state to pass such a law in 1999 after a shooting at its state lottery headquarters. Other states passed red flag laws in the wake of the 2018 shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. See, all this, both these articles, although they seem to contradict each other, on the one hand, you want everybody to have them, and in this one, you're trying to find every little avenue that you can to get them away. All right, again, these games that they play. All right, but again, we know that ultimately, whether this is a big ass setup or not, because what's coming next is, like I said, they're playing these games and everybody's fed up. Like I said, priming that pump. All right, because they're getting ready to shut down shit again over some bullshit. Like I said, this fucking so-called monkeypox shit, which is nowhere near as harsh as smallpox, even though it's supposed to be. And I'm not a medical doctor, but I've been reading up on it. Do so for yourself. All right, it's supposed to be related to that, but this is something again that's supposed to been around for long time. All right, it says, but again, we've said this. I don't know how long ago that they're playing these games with people. They're using stuff to try to further their agenda. Something that's not too harsh, but at the same time, it instills fear. They're using fear to control the people. All right. It says most states have issued a few hundred orders to remove firearms since passing their red flag laws. Florida has used its red flag law over 5,800 times since passing it in 2018. So in just 4 years now, I'll say 3 and ongoing. So they've used it 5,800 times. And Florida, hey, that's Florida. Hey. But like I say, we know the end run. Hey, they're coming after people. All right, this is part of the grand setup. All right, let me get some more scriptures here. I didn't mean to go this long without them. But, you got to understand that this devil, this is what he does. All right, this is where I want to go with this. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. What are some of his devices? What we've been talking about. These are his, what's the word in Greek? Noema, which means evil thought. All right, these are his plans. This is what, you've got other scriptures like, let me see if I can find it here. As soon as it loads, I don't know what that's about. Let's see. Here we go. This is Proverbs 4:16. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief. These Edomites, these so-called white people. They've got to. Man, they're the wicked. That's what we keep telling you. All right. It says, for they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. 17, for they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. All right. Can't get away from it. This is who you're dealing with. All right. This is who you are dealing with. All right. Let's see what else. Let's go to where was that? Like 7. It says, "Woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits." This is talking about us, our people, as the great gleanings of the vintage. There was no cluster to eat. My soul desireth the first ripe fruit. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net. And is not Esau our brother? All right. Even though he's the one that broke the brotherly covenant. Again, he is the wicked. It says 3, that they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince asketh, and the judge asketh for a reward, and the great man, he uttereth his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. The best of them is as a briar. Remember, we always use what? Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy. And our people, that's something else. They get caught up in appearance. Some Edomites might smile at them. They say, oh, how long have we been dealing with this shit for centuries? He's never going to change, because he can't change, because they are the wicked. They were created that way. All right? It says, the best of them is as a briar, the most upright is sharper than a thorn hedge. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh, now shall be their perplexity. All right? Their perplexity. So there's coming a time as when the scriptures say that all this is going to turn around on him. Those things that he's done to us, what does that sound like? Deuteronomy 30 and 7. Those curses that were on us are being transferred over to him. Psalms 7, 15 and 16, Psalms 9, 16, Jeremiah 30 and 16. All right. Hey, what can you say? Turnabout is fair play. Hey, but that's it for time's sake. I'm gonna wrap it up. Remember, I was dealing with 2 things here. The first one, although they seem to conflict, these are the games these motherfuckers play. All right. On the one hand here, they're talking about expanding it to let more people. Of course, they're talking about still doing background checks, but at the same time, you got to remember, how do these Edomites get around that? They go to these, what do they call them? These gun meets. All right. You'll see them advertised, maybe on your local news. They'll go somewhere out in the suburbs, and people will bring, their firearms, and they'll sell them, that way. And there was supposedly an uproar about that, but you don't hear about that anymore. Why? Okay. Hey, so with that, once again, like I said, this has been in this article here, even though I said they seem to conflict. This one is saying that, well, they're considering opening it up, all right, and try to let everybody carry a gun. And on the other hand, they're saying no. All right, they're trying to get this red flag laws to expand on that, to where if your neighbor sees you, thinks you're acting funny, they can report you and get you jammed up that way. And again, I'm not, we know that our protection at the end of the day is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah. But I'm just giving you an example of how this devil is working. All right, you got to understand, America has the most guns in private ownership of anybody else in the world. So that shit that happened in Australia, New Zealand, and areas like that, they're going to have a harder time doing that over here. That's my point. And that's why they're trying to do this the old sly slick way, because they don't want to run into any. Because, hey, if they come like they want to come now, hey, there's going to be a lot of damage done. All right. Hey, so with that, hey, Shalom.